Welcome back. We now have a panel discussion coming your way. Mr. Anupam Jalote, CEO of iCreate, will be moderating the conversation on the topic Building for Global Markets from Canada. And you'll be hearing from Ghislaine Silvera, Global Partnerships at District 3, Roshan Mohan, Client Account Manager, City of Mississauga, and Sean Muitamas, Senior Advisor at Toronto Global. A blend of entrepreneur and entrepreneur, Anupam Jalote, CEO of iCreate, has successfully straddled both worlds, the corporate world as well as that of the innovative startups. An MBA from Purdue University, Anupam has leadership experience in large telecom companies, startups, as well as institutions. His basic degrees are in economics and statistics from Lucknow University. He has promoted several startups of his own in the control systems and waste to energy space. An innovative thought leader, he has a granular understanding of the reality of innovation, startups, businesses, and government. He is passionate about putting India on the global map of developing low cost, innovative technologies that help heal the earth and about encouraging young people on the path of structured thinking, innovating, and designing. Over to you, Anupam, to introduce the panelists and to take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mithali, and a very, very warm welcome to the entire audience and my excellent panelists. Uh, we have a very interesting mix in our panel today to talk about how to build for global markets. We have Ghislaine Silvera, uh, who heads the NYC hub, and she's the Global and Strategic Partnership Leader for District 3. We have Roshan Mohan, who's the client account manager for the city of Mississauga. And we have Sean Muitamers, who's the senior advisor for Toronto Global. Uh, I'd like to take 2 minutes to kind of paint the context of this entire discussion, which we hope is going to be very interactive as well as cause a lot of questions and thoughts to come up from the audience. Now, we've got two very vibrant startup ecosystems in Canada and India. India, because of the theory of large numbers at play here, is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. And not only is it large, it also, I guess, punches above its weight in a lot of tech innovation based startups. We've got close to 50 unicorns now, and a lot of startups which are edging towards becoming unicorns, and we call them soonicorns here. Um, Despite the global perception that India is the land of IT, we've got a very interesting mix of not just software based, not just AI and big data based, but also product based startups, embedded systems, IoT, Industry 4.0, agri tech, health tech, electric vehicles, the whole gamut. And of course, AI based as well as application based and IT product based. Now, we also have a very large startup ecosystem that supports startups, incubators, accelerators, investors, angel funds. What it does mean is that there is a lot of churn happening in India. A lot of people are attracted to starting up, and pretty soon, some of them start seeing the world as their oyster. There are quite a few landing pads across the world that Indian startups go to. Some head out to Singapore, the Middle East. Some head out to the European ones, and a lot of them go to your neighborhood in the US. This is a very, very good moment to discuss how the Canadian ecosystem can empower Indian startups and help them access the North American, European, global markets. So while there are two perspectives that a person can come to Canada to start up, the other bit is that a startup already established in India could come to Canada for scaling up. And now I'm going to switch over to the panelists, and I'll request her work, and then lead us into how being one of the earliest startup ecosystems in Montreal. how did they help the entrepreneurs reach out to the world?
Mhm.
Leslie?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Anupam, for inviting me for this panel. Thank you, Hushan, for being here with me. We are all this international global tribe, and I'm very keen on participating on this program. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about District 3, a quick introduction, my role there, and how we are supporting entrepreneurs to go beyond the city. So District 3 has been in Montreal for 6 years now. And since the very beginning, when we didn't have centers and innovation centers like us in the city, we always wanted to establish that our entrepreneurs would think and act beyond Montreal, knowing that the city is not big enough, Canada is not big enough, and the world it's this huge market that we all need to explore. But of course, with the time, we have improved the way we have been doing this. We have been, since the very beginning, the most diverse center in Montreal. So 65% plus of our community have at least one founder that has immigrated or has immigration connections. Then we also have a huge percentage of women being co-founders in our startups. And the places where our entrepreneurs they come really varies from more than 30 different countries. So it's a very diverse community. And we are also talking about the profiles of the entrepreneurs. We have entrepreneurs that are very young, but we also have very seasoned professionals in different areas. So we are diverse also in terms of sectors in industry that we support the development of solutions, but we have some extra resources in areas like fintech, health tech, bio, and social transformation. So these are the sectors that we really emphasize the programs that we have. So, having said that, we are a very international, diverse community itself. We are also very well connected to the rest of Canada. So, in Quebec, we really have this coalition of different centers, and we definitely do a lot of things together. And we do the same with other regions. I can give you an example now where we are, and I'm responsible for this program. We are bringing Canadian entrepreneurs for fundraising in the United States, and we are doing this in collaboration with um, scouting innovation centers in Montreal, in Quebec, and Canada. So we have startups that are representing not only Montreal, but Toronto, but Halifax, or even Vancouver. So all of them are part of our group. Because we really understand that by doing it together, we really have much more chances to expand to the rest of the world. So this mindset of being diverse, but also community oriented and working together is one of our major tools in our heart to really help our entrepreneurs to go abroad, to think, act, and really success going abroad as early as possible. Um, we also have a very one-on-one approach. I think every
Mhm.
entrepreneur they have different issues, so we also have specific programs. And as we go through the workshop, probably we will open up how we are able to shape our resources to one-on-one needs of each entrepreneur. And beyond that, we really go through a long path with them, since exposing them to entrepreneurship, but talking about more major um, opportunities by how we can help them to validate their solutions and also launch and grow in North America. So we really play a lot with our international partners in this sense. Anupam, may I go
Yeah.
ahead or would you like to hand over? Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for that. I wanted to ask if a slightly tactical question, because sometimes startups have very basic needs. If there's a landing pad kind of a program that says, all right, you already know entrepreneurship, you've established something in India, and now you want to reach out. The logistics of incorporating there, maybe finding a team there, maybe finding co-promoters there. Do you have some sort of program that helps with that also?
Yes, we do. So for more advanced entrepreneurs, we have a program that is called Launch and Grow. And launch and grow doesn't mean that you are still launching for the first time your solution, but you are launching in a specific geography. So, for example, if we have Indian startups going very tactical, if we have Indian startups that want to address the North American market, so they will join this program that it's a 6 to 9 month program where they will revise the validation of the product market fit of their solution, and with North American advisors, not only Canadian but also North American advisors. They will refine their go-to-market strategy and everything that is needed to take their solution from one geography to another. And we do this at an individual case, but we also do at a cohort base. For example, now we are exchanging with France, a group of startups where our Canadian startups, they are going to France in taking the country as the door to the rest of Europe, and they are receiving the proper support to analyze their solution, to revise the product market fit for that geography, and most of the times also already starting their business development phase there, and vice versa. So they are coming and they are joining as well our community, and from there they go. So this is one case and very tactical where you join the program, and you will have a specific support to bring your solution to the North American market. And of course, as you do that, you will also expand your connections with peer startups that are doing similar job. You will also get connected to the industry partners that you might need to succeed in industry collaboration and so on. And surrounding these, there are all the legal aspects and the infrastructure that you need to understand how you will hire, how you will incorporate, how you will sell and approach your taxes schemes, so on. So you also need support on that. So we provide.
Wonderful. This is this sounds exactly like what startups would need. Sounds very, very encouraging. Thanks a lot, Justine. Amazingly good stuff. I'd like to switch to Roshan now. And Roshan's got tremendous experience in the investment banking and uh, experience of supporting startups and getting FDI into the economy. And Roshan, I'd like to get your feel on what kind of companies are really best cut out for setting up base in Canada to build out for global markets. And then what might be operational business models that you see succeeding for Indian companies there?
Well, thank you, Anupam, for this opportunity to participate in the panel with Ghislaine and Sean. Uh, so, Canada, as you know, is a very diverse country. We have diversity in the landmass. You saw in that image, that the map that our colleague Kayla had produced. It's an amazing country with so many different natural resources. There is so much global relationships the government has negotiated in terms of free trade agreements with countries around the world. There's a diversity in the population in terms of even the Indian diaspora that lives here in Canada and operate from here, run global businesses. And there is also diversity in the economic base. So opportunities for a Indian business coming here are multifold. It could be, I would like to group them in three different buckets for the ease of understanding it. The first one are companies that come here and want to use Canada as a cost-effective base to sell initially into North American market and then sell into other parts of the world. So how they do it, they would utilize the free trade agreement that Canada has signed with US and Mexico. Now it's called CUSMA. And that gives you, if you are providing value addition, easy access into selling into those countries, easy mobility of your staff between those countries. And you do that in a cost effective manner, because when you look at the cost of new business in Canada, it's the lowest tax rate in the G7 countries. And in terms of corporate income tax, we are among the lowest among all the OECD countries. So that itself will reduce your cost. And then the numerous studies that are done looking at the quality of talent and the cost of talent. And a software developer here, if you would pay around 70,000, the same talent, if you were to acquire in a place like San Francisco, would be around $130,000. Of course, the currency difference between US and Canadian dollar also plays in that role. And top on that, the healthcare, because the public healthcare system here, that further reduces the cost of you as an employer to run a business. So you're running a cost-effective operation, and you see not small as well as big companies like Wipro, Infosys, TCS, they all operating development centers and nearshoring centers out of Canada to serve the North American markets. And as you go along in your journey, then you can tap into 13 other free trade agreements that Canada has signed. Some notable ones are with Europe, so it's called CETA, and with all the trans-Pacific countries. So that's one way you do it. The second bucket would be accessing the innovation ecosystem. So just we was talking about incubators, accelerators. So we have many of those across the country that are catering to the supporting these companies. They act as a soft landing site. They provide mentoring. They provide access to local resources. And the access to the capital that you need to scale up the business, whether it be through angels, venture capital, or it's through even listing as you grow. You can even list in Toronto Stock Exchange to raise capital. There's a venture side which is meant for early stage companies, and then a much more established companies can go to the broader platform. And you add on to that the incentives that are available here. So there's R&D tax credits that the government, both federal and provincial, combined can reduce your costs substantially in terms of innovating and commercializing new technology. And you can tap into the research institutions. Like if you're in AI, for example, there's institutions in Montreal, in Toronto, in Alberta. So you can tap into all those institutions and tap into new IP that are being developed and tap into the research that's happening at colleges. And the third bucket is the natural resources. So people don't know that Canada has the world's largest listing of mining and exploration companies in our Toronto Stock Exchange. And we have oil and gas in Alberta, and we are ranked third in many minerals and metals like potash, uranium, cobalt. I'm just naming a few, but there's a whole list of metals and minerals. And then there is forestry as well. So it's we produce the second largest softwood lumber in the world, and we are ranked second in the world. So you take in all of those, and you take in those incentives that are available. It could be for from the tax credits, it could be actual grant programs. All of this together will reduce your cost substantially. And then on top of it, it's a stable political environment here. You have the soundest banking system in the world, and it's in terms of corruption, it's ranked very low. And income disparity between the rich and the poor, it's very, very low. So you bring all those factors. You try to run a business here with a supportive government, and you see different levels of government, regional entities like Toronto Global, who is actually focused on trying to bring in investment into the whole region, tap into resources in cities like which I represent, Mississauga and Toronto and Markham and Brampton, all of us working together in terms of providing the support that's necessary for businesses to scale up. Now, you asked about what kind of operational agreements. Because of the diversity of our sectors, we have technology is a core of our industrial base. So we have software development, AI, cybersecurity, big data, quantum computing, fintech, you name it. It's happening here in a mega scale. And there's companies focusing on industry 4.0 technologies, developing advanced manufacturing technologies. Clean technology is another area that's happening here. Life sciences, there was someone speaking about biotech. So we are, especially the GTA, Montreal and Vancouver are like huge clusters of these life sciences companies, whether it be in pharma, biotech, medical devices, trying to develop and commercialize. And there's funding programs and supports available here to support companies, and agribusiness and entertainment and media. So these are kind of the broader sectors. Operational agreements. So you can do research and development, as I mentioned. Paytm, I think Sean is going to speak about it. They do a lot in terms of, Paytm is known in India, but here in Canada, they came here and developed a completely new development center, and it's purely focused on developing new IP and developing products for the Canadian and the North American market. So you could do that. You could do into companies like High Tech Gears, for example, are doing manufacturing here. So that's another model, and that could be through joint ventures or mergers and acquisition, or you can set up your own greenfield investment. There's near shoring, as I mentioned, Wipro, Infosys, and Tech Mahindra. Those kind of operation, even smaller companies here coming here, startups are coming here and trying to do that. And you can do clinical trials here. That's a huge opportunity. And there are opportunities also to tap into serving the manufacturing companies. And you could actually register companies either as a sole proprietorship or a partnership or a corporation. Corporation is what's normally preferred because of your risk exposure. And we offer the whole suite of connections to service providers who can help make sure you're making the right business structure. And once you're based here, there is a whole range of federal, provincial, municipal, and non-profit organizations that are here to help companies scale up and sell into the US and beyond. So I hope that answers your questions. Happy to answer anything else you have.
No, wonderful. I mean, very, very clear. And I'd asked a small question, but I got a very diverse answer in the sense that it's not sector specific. There are so many advantages that a startup or an incoming entrepreneur could avail of by being in Canada, and so that it really doesn't matter which industry you come from, whether you're AI or you're manufacturing or your paper or your agri-tech, really doesn't matter. And then the host of facilitation available. So thank you so much, Roshan, for that lovely insight. We'd like to move to Sean Mui-Thomas now. Sean is he's an economist. He's driving the economic growth of the Greater Toronto area. And I'd like to ask you, Sean, which are the really good poster boy kind of startups that you've had in that area, uh, and uh, and what are the main reasons why international tech startups are choosing the Toronto area to build their global companies? Sean?
Appreciate the question, Anupam, and I also appreciate being on this panel with and also the thoughtful answers that my co-panelists shared earlier. Good evening, everyone in India. My name is Sean Mui-Thomas. I just want to give you a little bit of background as far as what I do with Toronto Global and what Toronto Global is. I am one half of the India file at Toronto Global, and we're a government-funded not-for-profit that helps international companies be successful in launching operations in the Toronto region. And to answer your question specifically, Anupam, I want to sort of start big and go a little bit narrower and say that about 40% of companies are headquartered in that have a headquarters in Canada. Sorry, their headquarter is in the Toronto region or so. So most companies are going to have a presence in the Toronto region. I'd say most large Indian business houses / conglomerates, they operate in Canada with specific operations littered across the Toronto region. As Roshan was mentioning, Wipro does a lot of work here in Canada, and they do a lot of work actually with the Toronto Pearson Airport, which incidentally is located in the city of Mississauga. We've also found that there's a lot of Indian pharmaceutical companies that are operating here. They've entered York region through acquisitions, and we've also helped a lot of different tech companies land in the region, including Servify in Durham region. I'd also tell the audience to sort of keep an eye out on the amount of work that's being done surrounding EVs here. Ford, GM, Fiat Chrysler, they're all slated to build EVs in the province, and with universities like University of Toronto performing so much research around battery technology and tier one auto parts manufacturers like Magna, who's investing heavily in AI level 5 automation. We have a tremendously diverse and innovative ecosystem here. I'd say that, at the backbone, a lot of companies choose to establish operations here because of the talent. It's a massive draw. I'd say Instacart, Coursera, Cerebras, Etsy. You know, these are all companies that really are growing quite quickly as far as their talent footprint here. But I'd like to talk, as Roshan alluded to, about an example that's a lot closer to home, Paytm. I think the story for Paytm and Toronto and Canada really started in about 2011 or so, once Paytm was launching their consumer business. Harinder, who ended up being the CEO for Paytm Canada, he had many stops across the world, in Finland, Britain, Singapore, France, before he ended up settling in Canada. And when he came over and he attended different meetups, as some of the panelists have been mentioning, we have great community here. He really identified and saw that he could build a great team here. There was great talent at the universities. The team really just started out with a handful of people, and he was going from sort of public library to public library to build out some initial traction and products. And I think that's really an exceptional thing that he could have been doing here. In 2014, Atm Labs was opened, and it opened here in Toronto, and it's in charge of all R&D operations for the company. They're leveraging big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning to develop these new products. And the company has also stationed their cybersecurity head here in Toronto. I thought something that was really cool that I found online, and really anyone can find it on YouTube, is a talk that Harinder did in 2017 at TechTO meetup, where he stated that they actually pay more for talent in Bangalore than in Toronto, and it's actually comparable to what they were paying in Delhi. Where do we stand now? I encourage you to reach out to us and see for yourself. We have a lot of great insights to how you can stack up and build a business case for doing operations here. Another cool story I think to share, and it's not a non-Canadian company, but it's really our current poster child for homegrown success is a company like Wattpad. They're a global multi-platform, multi-language entertainment company. They were just sold for $600 million to South Korean company Naver. They've actually stated that India is their top market for growth right now, and the person who's heading up their Indian operations is actually a University of Waterloo graduate. So I think that it sort of brings it full circle to think about the fact that you can come to Canada to build a very global company, or you also have a lot of people from Canada who are going abroad to help build global companies. It's really tremendous when you have that. Last company that I really want to talk about is a company I hold dear to my heart. They're called IntelliHR, and they're an Australian tech company, HR tech company. I want to highlight them because of the attitude that they bring, which I think is very, very important when you are expanding. You have to have the right attitude. You have to have a great plan. I encourage all of you, when you are thinking about expanding abroad, to look at the ways that you can join the existing ecosystem and partner with as many stakeholders and competitors as possible. Turn competitors into partners. They would not say no to a meeting, and through the pandemic and inability to actually travel here and establish any of their core team as boots on the ground, they've still established research projects with the world's largest urban innovation hub, Mars, and they've created one of the industry-leading performance summits happening next month with local companies, and also the Toronto Raptors VP of Basketball Operations and Player Development, Teresa Recht, as a keynote. So there's a lot of traction that you can build from abroad if you bring the right mindset. So overall, I want to say that we have a great ecosystem here, and I want to remind you that the ecosystem really is a community, something that Kayla brought up from Startup Canada, and there's so many opportunities for partnerships to learn and to go global.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Thanks. Really, again, inspiring to learn about how people came and succeeded, not only from India, but Australia and so many other countries. And again, the underscoring of the fact that Roshan made and Jasleen made, that it's not about the sector, the space, the industry. It's about the mindset you bring. It's about the innovative thoughts that you have, which will find resonance. You will be able to find a team. You will be able to find support. Now, there's another interesting thing that you brought up, Sean, which is rather close to my heart, and I guess quite a few members of the audience might find it resonates with them. And that is that India itself is a very large market, and it's a very vibrant startup ecosystem. So we've got a lot of talent here. We've got a lot of people who do startups, who are available to work with startups. Um, so, what are your thoughts on this version of the collaboration also, of how Canadian-based startups explore India as a market? And India's got a talent for cost destruction, which is very different from cost reduction. There's nothing incremental about this. I mean, you really destroy costs, and once you do that, you've got a very interesting, very dynamic market opening up, which takes people by surprise oftentimes. So you see some chemistry, some traction there, and feel free, whoever feels they'd like to go first.
I have one practical case that I would like to share with you. I have about different ways of collaborating, because the classic one is, yes, you want to set up your company here in Canada, and then you will have this massive support as the one that Sean and Hoshan has offered. But there are many interesting ways that we can also think about it. So, for example, uh, recently we discussed this case about one startup in Canada in the fintech sector with another similar startup in India in fintech. Uh, in Canada, the problem of this startup was that the market was not large enough. Whereas the complex of expanding to a market like India, it's high. So how about partnering with another startup in India where you can expand and reach out a much larger market by partnering with this startup? On the other side, the problem of the startup in India was that they needed to expand their portfolio of solutions, and by partnering with someone who had a more advanced one, which was the case of this startup in Canada. So it was very much combining um, complementary discussion about two startups, building on their resources, on their strengths, but also achieving their strategic goals. So I think this is also one type of partnership that can be very useful when we are talking about different ecosystems. And it goes beyond the community, but it really goes effectively into the market and the other quite uh, recent example is we are now discussing this coalition with different startups, and it has been pushed by our colleagues in Toronto, by Communitech, how our startups we can scout talents worldwide. So bring in this talent. So you can come as a startup yourself, but you can come, as Shan said, to join startups and help us building successful case, global successful case. So this is also another one extra tool that is being put by our ecosystem to integrate international companies like our Indian colleagues that would like to join in Canada. And this really recognizes that not only established corporations, but startups are also the engine, the economic engine of our country as well.
For sure. Very, very interesting also to find out how that chemistry between the two fintech companies would have happened. Because at iCreate, very briefly, we've got a landing pad program which kind of offers this very safe space where incoming startups from across the world, and we work with Israeli and Australian and US ones, and they have a safe landing pad place, and they meet co-promoters, they meet interested, like-minded people who share the journey. But Sean, Roshan, you have something to add to what Ghislaine said?
Sure, sure. So this is something very important and close to our heart here in Canada. So the Canadian government has actually signed agreements with the Indian government to develop help companies do joint work for technology adaptation, validation, and co-development. So it's a program called the Canada International Innovation Program, where the Canadian government and the Indian government will support projects, R&D projects and commercialization projects, where you bring in the Canadian SME and institution and a Indian SME and an institution to do this kind of efforts. And this entity can qualify for up to 50% of eligible costs to a maximum of $600,000, and it can cover salary, contractor fees, some reasonable travel costs, and so forth. So that's one way we can use those kind of platforms to promote collaboration.
Yeah,
I'll sort of throw in an answer. Pardon me for interrupting there. I just want to throw in sort of an answer that's in parallel to a lot of the comments that were mentioned, and also the question, and that's sort of surrounding our universities. They're absolutely world class, and I know that a lot of them, University of Toronto, Schulich, building out great partnerships with physical presence, boots on the ground in India. Just recently, Schulich School of Business, in partnership with Startup India, just ran a 1-week hackathon to start off 2021 called Together 2021. We have so many international students, and India is very well represented here. With that, I think that helps a really good long-term basis of how you create more businesses between the two countries, is having that legacy of education as well. And I think that doing research partnerships with universities as well allows companies to sort of dip their toe into the ecosystem on one way or the other. And I know that the corporate relationship with universities here is being sort of described as hand in glove. They work very, very well together. So I think that's a really unique opportunity that companies have to submit sort of a use case problem statement that they have, and see how things can be ameliorated and perhaps solutioned around a research partnership and small operation in Canada.
If I wasn't a dinosaur from before the Ice Age, I would be rushing to Canada right now. I mean, this is exciting stuff that you folks have been. And I promise I'll be reaching out to all of you, because this is something that India is very keen on. iCreate is very, very keen on. And
Did we lose Anupam?
Facilitation and empowerment which is available. Thank you so much, Sean, Jesleen, Roshan. Delightful being there with you.
Thank you for having us.
Gaurav, Methali, over to you.